Alright, so boom. This is Away from Home series, part 99. I'm gonna just start a new series every time I get on here because I am pretty doggone random, as is the name of this channel. My name is Joy. I had a long day at work. Nothing bad happened. I'm blessed, but also want to say this whole working everyday thing to anybody that don't, right? All right. But I've been sitting here thinking about um dating, dating, dating. I think about it all the time, but I've been thinking about it in a particular way for the last few days. Thought to myself how dating is like a job process. The first date is the interview. And I've heard quite a few people reference the first date as like you send your representative, right? It's just two representatives of the people meeting to see if they could get along. Um, and as I've journeyed through dating in my adult life, I've realized that that is really true. You know, if your conversations exceed the basics of what you require to spend your life with someone. Unfortunately, in my community, it has only really been like sexual and, innuendos and stuff like that on first dates when they exceed the basic requirements. And I don't think that that's really healthy. Um, but there are some people who do meet their love at first sight or love at first date, and they can, explore those conversations preemptively. So this isn't counting them when I say your representative should be able to be on their best behavior on the first day. You should be able to have conversations that discuss basic requirements as it relates to uh, spending the rest of your life with someone, which unfortunately is not going to include sex at every turn, right? As we age, certain things do stop. Uh, I could say I hope that I'm gonna be boom boom powing into the last day of my life, but you know that just may not happen, right? Now, sex is important, so you probably should establish some sort of something as it relates to that, some sort of basis. But I'd like to think that if you went on the first date with somebody, if you got to the date, that you are at least attracted to them. And that's a pretty doggone good first start in terms of your sexual compatibility. Okay? So, anyways, that's my disclaimer. That's my healthy dating sex disclaimer for a first date, right? But the first date is definitely an interview. When you get there, you are looking at how the person is dressed. You are looking at their timeliness. You are looking at whether or not they came prepared, meaning if you were asked out, then in my opinion, they should be treating you if you were asked out, right? So did they come ready to afford this date? Do they seem nervous in that area? Do they seem nervous in other areas? Do they look like who they said they looked like in the photos, or who they described, depending on how you met them and agreed upon the date? Did they show up in a vehicle that is well maintained? Does it look like what they described their life is? Did it seem like they were in a hurry? Did it seem like they were distracted? Did it seem like their phone was a distraction? Those are the kind of the types of things that you're looking at, and those are kind of things that a person who's interviewing someone for a job would be looking at as well. Not necessarily the vehicle part, but yes, maybe in certain positions, maybe they would be not probably not supposed to be, but maybe they would be, right? Um, it's a list of things that when you're going on a first date with somebody that you are using or should be using to narrow down whether or not you would like to see this person again. Cannot stress this enough. The sex talk it does need to happen on a minimum basis, but it should not cover like the entire date. That shouldn't be the only thing you guys speak about, right? Because when you really look at spending your life with somebody, sex is kind of the easiest part, right? Until it's not. So we as I said before should already know that we are attracted to each other by the time we get to that first date, right? We're physically attracted. So there really shouldn't be a reason why you should be focusing on that during your first date. It's gonna happen. We know that. As long as we are both in agreement that we are interested in having a sexual relationship within our intimate relationship, then it's gonna happen, right? We can talk about that on the next date. So on this interview, we got some things that we gotta go over, with our representatives and make sure they're consistent with what we thought of and what we heard prior to that date. Then the second and the third date, you know, before I even get there, I want to also say by the end of the first date, you should know if you want to see that person again. If you have any doubts in your mind, it's probably just a no. It is just a no, honestly. But you know, by the time somebody is paying for the check, you should be able to say yay or nay on seeing this person again. It should be in your spirit, if not your mind, if not your loin, whether or not you would like to see this person again. And don't play around with that. Don't second guess yourself. Don't try to be like, well, maybe they're nice. And I've done that before. It does not work. You will either end up getting irritated during the rest of the processes afterwards, or you'll end up in a relationship with somebody that you really didn't like from the beginning, that in so many words, got in a relationship with their potential, and they didn't rise to it, and that's not their fault. That's actually partially, and I say partially with giving grace to the fact that we all make mistakes, right? That's partially your fault for ignoring what you already discerned they did not have, right? But anyways, so you should know if you want to see them on that second and that third date, all right? These dates are important because these are the dates that you're seeing the representative kind of fade into the background, right? This person is starting to become comfortable with you, you're starting to become comfortable with them. And similar to an interview process, if you've gotten past the first interview, you've likely already researched before you got to the first interview, right? And then you got past that second interview or that first interview, and now you're heading to the second. So now by now you're probably looking into their process even deeper. Do they typically do second and third round interviews for this position? If so, what are some of the questions that they are usually looking for you to answer, right? Um, maybe you might be like me and you're on those sites that are going to, tell other people's experiences in the interview process and what types of questions and, how long it took before the offer. Maybe you're looking on people's LinkedIn, to see how long they've been in the company. Did they come in as a manager or a hiring manager, or did they start in another position? People's LinkedIn can kind of give you a sense of how they rose to the position that they would be able to interview you to see if you're good enough slash a good fit, right, for the company. So in that with dating, same thing. If it's me, I'm starting to take a look at their social medias a little bit deeper, see who they're connected to, if we have any common associations, see how those are common. Please don't be family. Oh my God, ew. But hey, we are living in a world where it should really be no excuse that you got to the second and the third date without realizing that they one of your cousins. Just being honest. If you into your cousins, that's something I can't touch. But I'm not into my cousins, right? So I'm gonna be looking to make sure you're not Auntie so and so's daughter from the other side through marriage. I don't want no familial connections, right? And I don't want to know, or I don't want to date someone that my friends have dated unless it's like years ago. Like you dated them when we were in elementary school before I even knew you. That's different. But I don't want to see, evidence of an intimate relationship with someone that I know personally as a friend. And so, that we might not know that through talking, right? But I might see the evidence of it. And then I can come to you for clarity. And if it is so, and if it was a very, deep relationship, then that's something I would consider as a no. That's a hard stop for me. That's not, like I said, that's not everybody that's like that, but that's how I am. So we're researching on dates 2 and 3. We're still showing up for our dates consistently. So the interview process, you wouldn't be late for the second or third interview. You would you would show vigor. He's starting. You would show the same vigor that you had for the first interview, and as a matter of fact, you might step a little harder because you spent time, demonstrating who you are and who you can be in that position. So that would be date 2 and 3. And if that consistency is not there, like that contact, sometimes when you're in an interview process, you haven't heard from them in a while and you have to check back in. Hey, I'm still open and ready to work. What's going on? Can I get a timeline for, all those good stuff for interviews? Sort of the same thing. The only thing is, both parties should be demonstrating that interest, right? And if one party isn't, that's kind of a red flag. And if you aren't communicating with them, or if you're saying to them, hey, thinking about you, and you're not receiving that same vibe back, for lack of better words, then that's when it's time to start thinking about disconnecting, honestly. You can say that. You can say that, but I wouldn't use that as a threat. So I wouldn't come right out and say that. I'm just saying you can say that in so many words, right? You can declare what you need from a person if they're going to be in your life in that way. And you could declare that in a very peaceful way. That's another video for another day. But I'm just saying, 2 and 3 dates, that's when we're establishing some real things, right? Okay. Um, disqualifying places is what I got in my notes. That covers that family friend barrier, right? If you're showing up in disqualifying places similar to a background check for employment, nah. So the third, um, or really the second month, I would say, um, that's kind of when those tentative offers start coming out. So again, bringing it back to the employment process, right? You've done interview 2 and 3. So you've met with the hiring team 3 times. You've spoken with them via email and phone. They see you know how to read and write. They see you know how to speak well over the phone. They see you show up well in person. Now we're kind of getting to the place where we can make some offers. Depending on the type of job it is, th- the tentative offer might be as good as a final offer. With the relationship, though, I particularly do not believe you should commit until around month 3. I've committed earlier than that and I hated it. I'm not saying that it does not work. Again, we know that there are people in the world that meet the love of their life, go on a date, and declare themselves not single anymore in one day, and then are married for years to come. We know that love at first sight exists. We know that love after the first date exists. We know that. But in these trying times where a lot of people are operating from a stressful place, it would behoove you to take your time. Okay? So, no commitments, but tentative offers. Things like say, I am interested in you. Here is what a relationship would look like for me. Here's the timeline that I think we're on. Here's what I think I would be willing to do in order to get you to where I am emotionally about it. And here is how we could plan together to grow together. those are the same conversations you're going to be starting to have with an employer if the process is benefiting, both sides. If they believe you're a good fit, they're going to be extending some things and they're going to put on that letter, this is not a final offer pending, XYZ. It's pending XYZ. So same thing. I'm not declaring my everlasting love for you. I'm not even saying we're going to be in a committed relationship. What I'm saying is, I see the things within you that make me feel as though you would be a good partner to me. And I also see things that I feel like I could compliment to you as well. So that's where we're at. If you're at that point, good, great. But that does not mean stop paying attention. That doesn't mean stop paying attention. That does not mean stop paying attention. Okay. So now we're gonna enter, like, I keep hearing roommate yarn. We're gonna enter a part, where it's like this continued preparation, and then we're sliding into like more orientation in the third month, right? So that continued preparation is those continued conversations, those continued consistent showing up and the way you show up for the level of commitment you do have, right? And then, there's that orientation part, right? Where maybe you have decided to go ahead and commit, and go steady, but, you know, with or without the title, you are starting to get used to that person and that person's culture, that person's demeanor. You're knowing how their schedule goes. You're knowing, what are the best times for you two to connect, and what are the best times for you guys to sort of, take some space. Uh, that's when you're at that space, right? You're at the space. You're showing up to work every day. You're learning the key words that are said by everybody around here. You're learning how, in your past position, they refer to, times where you need a little help as coaching sessions. And here, they refer to them as touchdowns. And it's really the same thing, but to let the other person know that you are truly implementing them into your life, you're going to start to use some of the same vernacular that they use. You're going to start to reflect using memories from your courtship instead of your previous one, right? So that's that orientation part, right? And then we should be at the third month. That's the green zone for me. That's the amount of time that I pretty much know. And I think most people should know by month three whether or not they could see somebody as their partner, as their significant other. Honestly, if you don't know by month three, it's a no. And I'm not just talking about if you don't know for yourself. I'm talking about if you don't know because they have not given you an answer. It's a no. It is a no. Okay. Don't sell yourself so short. We don't wait on people around here for any amount of time. Honestly, you don't wait. You're either participating in the building and equally working towards the goal, or you're waiting. And we don't wait. We do not wait. So by month three, if the person is like, I don't know, okay, you can go, I don't know, over there. That's when you can go. I would suggest honestly not seeing them anymore. But I know how it is. I know how it is, right? Especially if you've involved some indoor Olympics at this point. I wouldn't suggest it, but if you have, that can make it harder to walk away, right? So what you should do is, right, to relate it back to it being a job search, what you should do is you should always keep your options open. You should never just be applying for one job at a time, especially if you need a job, especially if you're in between employment, or if the current place of business that you are at is just not going to work. You should be applying to multiple jobs, right? So, similarly, in dating, don't close yourself off just because you had one good date. Okay. Unless you just know, unless you fit that category of people that are, going to be in love for the rest of their life because they had a great day with this person and they just know. Don't cut too much off. Don't cut them off because there is a chance, actually a high probability, that this person is not the one. They might be okay for now, but as time goes on, you may see not that there's anything wrong with them. They just aren't the person for you, or you just aren't the person for them. And if you go around breaking up with everybody because you had one good date with them, it's like withdrawing your application, right? Now you're no longer being considered for the positions that you could have easily succeeded in because you withdrew your applications because this one over there looked like it paid more. Same thing, same difference. So by month three, you've done so much by that time because you took your time. Then it's okay to be committed. It's okay that the other jobs you apply for are sending emails saying we're going to consider up other applicants. It's okay that the people in your DMs are like, "Hey, haven't heard from you a while. Just check in." And hey, being all with all honesty, I've been seeing someone that I really like, and I appreciate your time. Like it's okay to be at that point by then. But 90 days, yeah, 90 days. And using time, I my advice is always to be friends with time, okay? A lot of people like to rush. Sometimes the reason why those people like to rush is rooted in abuse, right? When sometimes people are manipulative and are using speed to aid them in confusion, right? To aid them in confusing you. Sometimes. And sometimes those people are doing it purposely, and sometimes they're not doing it on purpose. That's the only thing they ever knew to do because other people did it to them. It's not always intentional, but it sometimes is. And with or without intent, it's still something you need to watch out for. Don't worry, just watch out for it. And don't let it happen to you. If you come across a person that wants to date you and you want to date them and they've set a timeline that's way faster than yours, again, we don't wait, so I'm not telling you to tell them to wait. I'm just saying consider that might be a reason to walk away from it. Okay, I don't like making too long videos because I don't like rewatching long videos to make sure I ain't saying nothing crazy. So I'm gonna end this one and I'll do probably like another video just talking about my experience with someone speeding up my timeline and how I know that proved to be extremely detrimental for the both of us, honestly. And just be careful, like, and I hope this video helps kind of break down that beginning period when you're getting to know someone and hopefully transitioning to a permanent figure in their life. Don't worry so much about what other people are doing to build their relationships or what they seem like they're getting out of their relationships and stuff like that. A lot of those people, and if I'm just being honest, a lot of those people are faking. And if they're not faking, a lot of those people have gone through types of pain that you don't want to go through with your person, right? Some of those people have begged for those gifts. You don't want to beg. Some of those people have been in blind spots, where the person purposely left them out. You never want to be ignored. Some of those people have gone through things like permanent, feeling intensity, but then the next day, you're not my girl, you're not my man. You don't want to go through that. So taking your time and interviewing and interviewing some more and going through some orientation and ultimately going through some training because you do need to teach a person how to love you and you need to learn how to love them. those things are going to get you a solid career, a solid, long, and lasting relationship, okay? Trust me. My name is Joy. All right. If you like this video, go ahead and try to share it. Like I don't really, be wanting to ask people to do that, but why not? Like, come on. I'm over here looking like Trick Daddy with my hat on. Like, just share the video so somebody could like hear my voice and be like, yeah, she kind of get it. Do something, and if you want to see my pretty smile, maybe next time I'll wear some lipstick for you. I don't know, girl. Like, anyways, all right, y'all. Bye.